sometimes seasons drag on and it seems like there's nothing you can do about it. Good news is, no season lasts forever. Beware of rushing, because once you get a season over with, you can never get it back. There's another one coming just like it. And so any season you're in that you would be tempted to rush, all I can say is, once it's gone forever. Learn to diagnose your season. If we're ants, we don't just know there is such a thing as summer. Somehow baked into their genetics, they have the wherewithal to go bing, and their little antenna goes ding. It is summer. They know when it's now time to go up into the anthill and shut all the doors and whatever it is that they do during the colder months. They know how to diagnose their season, and so must you. Why? The sooner you diagnose your season, the sooner you can adapt to it. And this is key, because so much of the frustration that we experience in life comes from misdiagnosing our seasons. There's a rhythm to every season of your life. And you can keep building your sandcastles during low tide and then getting mad when the wave comes in and washes it out. Or you could build your sandcastle a little higher up on the shore, because there's an inevitability to seasons. We tell our staff, like, get into the rhythms of new series and get into the rhythms of big holiday times of us going all out. Now, you can get frustrated. What are those asking me? Right? So, you see what I'm saying? Or you can get with it. For me, this shift came where I moved my day off from Monday to Friday. Our entire staff is off on Fridays. Why? We want rest going into the weekend. We want to be at our best for the weekends. For us at this church, it's all about the weekend. That's the time when people are coming to Christ, and we want these worship experiences to be a powerful time for people who are fighting through battles all week long, dealing with difficulties, dealing with demonic attack, dealing with stuff out in the world, to come in here together. I want us all on our A game. I stopped strenuous cardiovascular activity on Saturdays. For a long time, I would always go on long bike rides on Saturday mornings. Then I realized it was depleting me, and I wasn't at my best when I needed to be. And so I'll get a little bit of light, maybe weight training in on a Saturday, but I'm really conscious of conserving to be at my best when I'm needed the most, that greatest exertion of power. And so it's just learning rhythms. It's learning rhythms in your marriage, of your date night. It's learning to diagnose sweet spots within your family life and sweet spots within of your life at work and career, and just learning to be able to accurately diagnose and then adapt to seasons. It's the season. Shove your neighbor and tell them, it's the season. Like you're just realizing it, right? Like you keep busting out those shorts and flip-flops in January, and then you're all mad. Like, oh, it's not the shorts' fault. 'Tis the season. It's the season. Right? Don't go throw your shorts away. Oh, I'm never trying to wear shorts again. Right? No, it's the season. There's a season of evangelism where you're loving someone, getting to know someone. Oh, it never works for me. Well, how do you usually go about it? Well, I usually tell them they're burning in hell if they don't come to Christ. Have you said, like, hi, my name is first? Or is that like what your leading line is? I wonder if maybe it's not the season. Well, you trying to water down the gospel? I like to put the message of hell on a sign and shove it in everyone's face. There's a verse in the Bible about hell. And we'll talk about hell. But you know what we lead with? God's loving kindness, his graciousness, his winsomeness. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so 'tis the season. Hey, my name is, I want to be in your life. I want to care about you. Don't want anything. Now you're doing double dutch, baby girl. You see what I'm saying? 'Tis the season. 'Tis the season. 'Tis the season. Now, sometimes seasons drag on and it seems like there's nothing you can do about it. I think about David, who was anointed to be king, but then there was 20 years before he became king. And during those 20 years, Saul, the crazy king, was juggling like axes all the time, and David's trying to jump in and out of those, and so it wasn't the season yet, and the season of him having a promise in his heart didn't come to pass. And about the worst thing you can do is try and make something happen in your own time, because God knows that at times we're not ready for it yet, and so sometimes seasons drag on. Similarly, though, now some tension. That's true, but this is also true. Not every season you find yourself in is the result of God's decision-making. Sometimes it's just simply yours. right? It's not God's fault that you racked up 30 grand in credit card debt. That's your fault. So God didn't put that season on you. Oh, I'm just in this season from the Lord. No, you're in this season called you couldn't control yourself at Target and at IKEA and every other blooming place you ever went to and blew money you didn't have to buy things that you didn't need to make yourself important to people that actually don't even care. Now you're in the season of difficulty. Well, yeah, you got yourself in, you need to get yourself out. You got to figure out the frugal way to make better decisions to get out of that. You find yourself in prison. God didn't put you in prison. You cheat on your spouse and get an STD. You brought a season on your life now. Now God will be there with you even to the ends of the earth. You make your bed in hell. You take the flight of the 747 to the wings of the morning. He'll still be there with you. He'll go through that season with you. But we have the wherewithal to bring about difficult seasons into our own lives. Good news is, and I always like to get there, good news is no season lasts forever. So if you don't like the season you're in, just smile and wait because another one's coming. Come on, somebody. Help me encourage someone going through something difficult today. That if you don't like autumn, that's okay. Winter's coming. You're a big skier, it's coming. You don't like winter, spring's coming. The seasons are so steady. As long as God lets the earth remain, it's going to be seed time and harvest and then cold and then heat. And God's got another season for you. And so whatever your favorite season is, I just want to encourage you that season is on its way. But beware of rushing. Beware of rushing. Because once you get a season over with, you can never get it back. There's another one coming just like it, but every season we're in is like a snowflake. Have you noticed that yet? No summer is exactly the same. Some summers we can blow up fireworks. Some summers we can't. Some summers, June is amazing. Some summers, June is hell. And you're like, what the heck? I thought I was getting a summer and this June blows, right? Every season has its own delicate DNA to it. And so any season you're in that you would be tempted to rush, all I can say is once it's gone forever. Once the season's over, I know parenting feels like it lasts forever, but those of us who our kids are out of the house, that's not me. You would say to me, enjoy it. I know it feels like they're always going to be in diapers. Now, we just transitioned our last child out of a car seat that had its little clips in it. And every one of our child is using the restraint that came with the vehicle. And it was such a defining time for us, for the last time to unthread those straps from the seat and to think all of our little babies that we brought home, 8, 9 pounds from the hospital, they're now in these big kids' seatbelts. And so it goes by so quickly. So the worst thing you can do is rush through any season because before you know it, you blink and it'll be gone. Why would we rush through a season, Levi? Well, I wonder if it's not a disorder. Have you heard of seasonal affective disorder? It spells sad. This is where you're sad as seasons transition. They say it's a real thing, where you get sad when you feel seasons transitioning in the air. It affects you in an interesting way. Well, I wonder if there's not a seasonal dissatisfaction disorder. I'm calling my SDD. This is where you're never satisfied with the season you're in because you're so antsy to get to the one that's just around the river bend. This is where you want to make money, but then the moment you make money, now you have to keep money. You want to build a business, but the moment you build it, now you want to do something else with it. Now someone else is going to compete against it, and you're antsy to get married, and there's some people in the house, and you got married. Now you're thinking, if I only was not married, everything was so great when I was not married. I was single. I could do whatever I wanted to do. There's a season where you want kids so bad. I just want kids, and then you got kids, and now you're like, I can never do anything. I haven't seen a movie in 6 years. I don't know about Ant-Man. I would have laughed at that joke. I wouldn't know. And I don't see movies anymore. I have children. I watch soccer games. And this is a seasonal dissatisfaction disorder where the season's always greener. The season's always greener. It's easy to see the advantages of a season you're not in because all you see is the upside, not the upkeep. All you see is the delightful aspects. I wish I lived in that neighborhood. You couldn't even afford the dues. Let me tell you something about that neighborhood. Every season has its strengths and its struggles, its blessings and its benefits, its power and its pain. So you just gotta be in the season that you're in. I read in the Harvard Business Review about this new phenomenon called the quarter-life crisis. Who's heard of the midlife crisis, right? Gold chain, convertible, right? Guy trying to reclaim his prime, his vigor, right? Breaking out the Drakkar Noir cologne, and that's a bad scene right there. But the quarter-life crisis, they're saying the age for the onset of depression has dropped from the late 40s and early 50s, where it was 30 years ago, to now the mid-20s and the early 30s. And this is this feeling locked in at work, feeling trapped in parenthood, feeling trapped in a relationship you rushed to get into. And so now you're wanting to get out of it. Now you're wanting to make a rash, erratic, self-sabotaging behaviors. I wonder if this doesn't explain a lot happening in our culture. People rushing into a season and then not liking the season that they're in now, wanting to be in the season behind them or to be in the season that's in front of them. And I think really what this amounts to is resenting transition. Resenting transition. And I have a friend, Pastor Stephen Furtick. He's an amazing friend of this ministry, and I heard him preach one time on seasons. He said something so good, I had to write it down. He said, if you get a blessing before it's time, it'll never be beautiful. It'll always feel like a burden.
Levi Lusko is the pastor of Fresh Life Church, a multi-site church in Montana, Utah, Oregon, and Wyoming, and best-selling author of Through the Eyes of a Lion and Swipe Right. For a gift of $40, you will receive both of these incredible books along with the Swipe Right and Through the Eyes of a Lion series on DVD. Get your copies today by visiting levilusko.com or calling the number below.
If you get a blessing before it's time, and he pointed to the prodigal son, and he pointed to how the prodigal son, the blessing he got was the blessing promised to him. The problem wasn't what he wanted. That was the portion that fell to him in his father's inheritance. He knew what he was supposed to get, and everything he used when he was off with prostitutes and he was off ruining his life, he was supposed to get. He was going to get. He just wanted it now. He wasn't willing to wait for the right season. He wasn't willing to wait for the right responsibility, for the right muscles of character. So when he got all that he truly wanted, he had a quarter-life crisis. And he broke his life down and ended up with the pigs. And I'm going to tell you something. The blessings for the season you're in, they correspond to the strength God knows you have inside of you. And so don't rush to get something before you let him bake in what you need to carry it. Or you'll get some seasonal dissatisfaction, disorder. What God's advice to you would be, I say to you and I say to me, enjoy the journey. Learn to enjoy the process and not just be so hung up on the destination. Otherwise, you'll always live your life hurrying. You'll get it. It won't be sweet enough. Hurrying. See also the whole book of Ecclesiastes. All right, I got a third point. If we're going to become Ant-Man, which is our God-given right and responsibility, we also need to prepare for coming seasons. Would you jot that down? Learn to prepare for coming seasons. Yes, it's key to know what season you're in, but you also have to anticipate the season coming down the road. This is the tension, because I just told you not to be rushing off to the next one. So this is the balance. We prepare for, but don't worry about the next season. Don't worry about and try and live there now. Don't try and make it happen now, but prepare for by anticipating a season, 2 seasons, 15 seasons ahead. I think many of us, we need to learn to stop and pan out on our life. Like on Google Maps, where you're so all up in the neighborhood, you just need to pan out and get some perspective. I wonder if we wouldn't do well to start with the end of our life. Plan your deathbed out now. I'll tell you, that'll change your marriage, that'll change your career, that'll change your life in your church. What do you want your deathbed to be like? You want your kids to want to even come, or to get the call and not even care? Do you want to still have the same spouse that you have now to be at your bedside on that day? Okay, what do you have to do to get to that deathbed? Start at the end and reverse engineer your life to get the deathbed you want. That's my advice to you right now, who's all up in here going, I want my Friday nights to be awesome. I want to be lit. I want to wake up, drank, get up, drank. Okay, is that going to lead to the deathbed you want or the deathbed in the side of the ditch 2 months from now? According to Sports Illustrated, 78% of NFL players are bankrupt or financially stressed within 2 years of retirement. 60% of NBA players are broke 5 years after walking off the court. Why? Because they didn't let the 7 fat cows be enough for the 7 skinny cows coming. The majority, now let that sink in. Those we idolize, those who succeed in sport. Now we don't have the same statistics for the music industry, and the entertainment industry, movie master. I just gave you the metrics on sports. So Sports Illustrated that put that together, okay? I bet you there's probably similar findings. Because we all assume when everything gets good that that's how it's always going to be. And so we buy the Mercedes, and so we get the big house. Nothing wrong with a Mercedes if you drive one. Nothing wrong with a big house if God blesses you with it. Let me tell you something. The problem is thinking in our highly productive, money-making years, that's how it's always going to be. And so if we change our life up to that extent, and it's our life is then dependent on that same income in order to upkeep it, you are able to be talked into a giant down payment on an enormous house. But now what's that monthly gonna be like? And now what are the taxes gonna be like? You have to really assess. You wanna be living in an enormous mansion and not having any food or any furniture? You wanna have a very nice Bentley that you park at your apartment and you can't even turn the heat on in the winter time? There's so many people in our world who are house broke, who are car broke, who are just leveraged up to the eyeballs and can't enjoy their life, okay? The season of prosperity, the season of our prime of life, that is not all of our life. And we have to take that to heart. Learn from the ants. Learn from the ants. It's summertime of life, which is what? Probably 20 to 55, 20 to 60. It's your summer of life or whatever that breaks down to. Well, that's when you have to be thinking of the whole scheme of your life, of your fall, of your winter. How are you gonna get through the lean years when they inevitably come? We know the economy's like this. We know things happen. We know stuff's crazy. When I was a kid, I watched that grasshopper ant thing on Silly Symphony. Your kids are watching it, Fresh Life Kids this weekend. It's the ants who are working, and the grasshopper's just playing a fiddle and spitting tobacco everywhere. They couldn't make a cartoon like that today. And he doesn't do anything. And then the winter comes and the ants are all inside the little house with all the food, and the grasshopper's freezing with his fiddle because he didn't think about summer. He didn't think about become Ant-Man, grasshopper, is what I'm trying to say. If you want potatoes in the fall, you gotta plant them now. Use your present to prepare for the future. So now I'm getting real specific here. Think about savings. Think about retirement. Think about life insurance. If you died today and you're the key money maker in your home, you're the breadwinner, how's your family gonna live without you? Have you thought about your wife having to go get a job at McDonald's because she's been out of the workforce for 30 years, so that'll be the only way she can now, have you taken wise plans to prepare for the future? Are you living like an ant? Are you making wise investments? Don't eat all your seed. Invest some. Eat some, enjoy the blessing, but also invest some. Not just in earth, in heaven too. Not just in earth, but in heaven too. Luke 16:9. Here's the lesson. I love how it starts. Here's the lesson. Can you make it any clearer? Pay attention, right? People who blow their paychecks every time here's the lesson. Use your worldly resources to benefit others and make friends. Then when your earthly possessions are gone, they will welcome you to an eternal home. You know what this text is saying? Make sure that a little bit of every money you get, you put into eternal things so it can be put to work to save souls. So when you get to heaven, you're walking around, there's gonna be tons of people going, come on into my house for a party, come on into my house for a dinner, because you used your money to help me get here. So come on over. Do you want that to be experienced in heaven? Let me tell you something. If you're planted in the soil of Fresh Life and you're laying out your tithe, you're giving offerings above that, you're participating in our year-end giving series, then every time someone comes to know Christ in this church, through this ministry, on this webcast, then you have someone in heaven for all the 10,000 times 10,000 years who are gonna be like, come barbecue with me, you helped me get here, and I'm grateful. Now you're saying, I don't have enough money. Oh, really? You start with what you have. Generosity doesn't switch on when you get wealthy. It starts right now. You will be exactly as faithful with $100 as you are with $10,000. You think just one day you're gonna be able to force yourself to write a $10,000 tithe check? You think you'll be able to write a $100,000 tithe check if you don't start with that $1 out of the first 10? That if God can't pry that from your fingers, then you have a heart problem, not a generosity problem. You're just stingy, you see? And so we start with what we have now. We teach our daughters $1 goes to Jesus, $1 goes to savings, $8 then out of the 10 goes into the spend jar. You get to use it for what you want. We should start that way and live that way. I got one last point. Want to hear it? Is this helping you? Is this a good message? Am I preaching good? Celebrate your season. Hello. Celebrate your season. Yeah, understand them. Yep, diagnose them. Yep, prepare for them. But don't forget to celebrate them. I'll tell you, this is the hardest one for me out of all of them, to celebrate the season you're in and to like an ant, lean into your season. There's beauty in your season. Matter of fact, that's what Ecclesiastes 3:11 says. It says, he has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from beginning to end. Beautiful in its time. Beautiful in its time. He makes everything beautiful in its time. The work God does from beginning to end. Listen to me. The work that God does from beginning to end in your life is all beautiful in its time. That means that we can celebrate our season even when it's painful. We can celebrate our season even if it's with tears. We can celebrate our season even if it's marked by suffering. We can celebrate our season even if it hurts right now. Why? Because it's all a big picture, beginning to end. And God's outside of time, so he sees your whole life. He sees it all, and he knows it's all beautiful. Not every piece of it's beautiful. Sometimes you get handed a piece, like a jigsaw puzzle put in. Sometimes it's real fun to put pieces in. That's a face, bam. That's a border, bam. That's a corner, bam, 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 right? Who starts with the edges, right? But then sometimes you just get sick of clouds. You just get sick of them. You just get sick of grass. You get sick of, and you might right now be in a season where you just feel like you're just putting out ugly piece after ugly piece. There's no payoff. There's no reward. All I can say is God knows at the end of the day that you nor he want to see a picture that has holes in it. So sometimes that means he's going to hand you a piece. There's going to be a day. There has to be a season that doesn't feel super pleasant, but it's necessary because of the whole picture of what he sees. He's going to make it beautiful in its time, at the end of the day, beginning to end. So all I can say is, don't grow weary, Galatians 6:9, while doing good. Just put your piece down. Celebrate your season. Just believe that it's part of something bigger. We shall reap in due season if we don't lose heart. So take nothing for granted. Enjoy the beauty of the sunshine, but learn to find and appreciate the beauty of the shadows. Yes, jump into the lake when it's the 4th of July and light off your fireworks, fire department, state land permitting. But at the same time, when it's cold, learn to light a fire and put on a sweater and cuddle with your kids and drink some hot chocolate. Learn to enjoy taking a walk and seeing your breath puff out. There's beauty in standing in the cemetery. There's beauty in every dark season. The hospital waiting rooms. God's near to the brokenhearted. I got news for you in the season you're in. Come on, just praise him for a second. Just take a moment and just thank him right now and celebrate that your season, though it tastes bitter to the tongue, is a part of a well-cooked, well-rounded meal that the master chef of your soul knows you need. Take nothing for granted in this life. When you can tap into that kind of power, then you'll be able to say with Paul, and we're going to close here with this, you'll be able to say, I have learned in whatever state or season I am in to be content. I know how to be abased. I know how to abound everywhere. And in all things, I've learned both to be full. I can be hungry. I can abound. I can suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So my word to you, Fresh Life Church, is 'tis the season to be jolly.
Well, we're talking about 4 things that are small in size, but super duper wise. And where we always want big change in our lives, what we might not realize is that big change might come through teeny tiny things. And I think one tiny thing that we can do that will really help set us up for success is leaning into understanding and preparing for the seasons of life that come as opposed to fighting them. It's so futile to try and fight against seasons because they're inevitable. And what the ants have done that's so brilliant is even though they're not that strong, I mean, they're pretty small, and I get it, they're strong proportionally, but compared to a human being, they're not that strong. But what the book of Proverbs says is that they know to prepare their food in summer so that they have something waiting for them in winter. What a powerful idea, to live in one season in the light of another season. And that's a spiritual principle that's all over the Bible. If you really understood that right now you're preparing for the next year, the next decade, the next season of life when it comes to retirement or being a grandparent or any season that's coming, but the ultimate application, of course, is to live in such a way now in this season that's brief here on earth, so that the season that's coming behind it, that's the true life, eternal life, hopefully in heaven, then you understand that you're living right now in light of the season and you're preparing the food for that coming day. Because the truth is, winter is coming for us all, the end of life here on earth. And the wise lives in such a way that when that next season comes, you're not sad or disappointed or empty-handed, but rather, like the Bible says, you have an abundant entry into eternity. Now, of course, our access into heaven comes only because of Jesus, and it's all His grace. But the Bible does talk about being rewarded in heaven, and that reward being completely connected to our lives here on earth. So like an ant, you can lay up for yourself treasure that Jesus said can't be taken away by moths or robbers or anything else. And that's all what we do for Jesus. So let me just encourage you today to think of this life not as the main thing, but rather a mission field, a chance and an opportunity today to live in such a way that you have something laid up for you in heaven, both in that you're living generously, in that you're sowing into your local church, and also supporting Christian programming and Christian TV networks and ministries that are blessing and doing great work, feeding hungry people and doing work that Jesus said is pure and undefiled religion in the sight of God. And so let's not just live only on ourselves, myopically focused here and now, but let's open up our eyes to seasons that are approaching. And I just pray that God will bless you richly as you don't just live for this season, but also for the one that's coming up.